Now, on the job application itself, whether you do it online or you do it in person in a written form, a couple core parts or concepts to really understand in great detail, or maybe not great detail, but to understand. And one of those is that the job application is actually a legal document. That is a formal legal document. And with that job application, depending on your own local laws, and it does vary by country or by province or state, so be aware of what your local laws might be. But the companies will be aware, and they'll, hopefully try to design their applications to not be in violation of the legal laws that apply to them. And so they can ask some questions on there or ask for you to provide some things and not others on the job application. So just be aware that it is a legal document and that your signature on that legal document is confirming the truth on that document. Usually at the bottom you might see some small print that says, to the best of my knowledge, I understand that what I'm writing is truthful and accurate, blah, blah, blah. So later on, you might be, let's say, hired for a job, and then let's say later, a year or two later, or months, or whatever, any period of time later, if something comes up and they look back at your job application, they could see that you were, lied on your job application, you were not truthful. That's a termination offense. And so they could go back and terminate you for that without really much due process at all. They'll say you lied on this legal document, so you're fired. All right. So just understand how that goes. That's a legal document for them and for you, as far as that application. And they want the facts in a formalized manner, right? Most applications follow a similar flow, but they're asking for certain information. They make you fill out all sorts of certain information and require that information, and really it's kind of formalized on there. Particularly if you're doing a job application online, it might not even let you, complete the application or move forward with actually applying and submitting for the job until you fill out all the required fields, for example. And some of those fields you might not want to fill out, and we'll talk about some of those fields in a moment, but that's going to require you to fill out those fields. So it's a kind of a formalized manner for that. So you might be thinking too, when you've done all these thousands of job applications, maybe 1,000, but done some job applications, particularly online, you might be thinking, well, why don't they pull from my resume or CV or some other documents and just pull that information and put it in an application, which they try to do, but a lot of times it just doesn't pull through right. Or why do they even have a job application at all? Why not just take my resume? Why do I have to go out and fill out this dumb application that takes so much time? Well, a couple of things. One, it's the legal document, as we talked about before. So they kind of got you there if later on they need to. So it's, it's kind of forcing, not want to say forcing, but it's that truthful aspect to it. So they want that legal document. And also that it's, presents things in a manner that's easy for their managers or recruiters to hire because it's written in their format. But really, as far as a resume or CV is, a resume or CV is written by the job candidate. It's written by you, the candidate, someone looking for the job. And so what do you do? And what we're going to learn to do is how to present you in the best light. A job application is just give me the facts. I just want facts. Maybe a little bit extra, but really just with the facts. And so it's not really helpful as far as presenting you in the best light. So that's why they ask for these applications as opposed to just using a resume. Now they will look at resumes, particularly through the interview process or when they start selecting candidates. They will use the resume, and the algorithm things will scan your resumes as well. But they're also scanning those job applications. So whether it's a robot online who's scanning for keywords in your application to maybe screen you out, or for hiring managers or recruiters to quickly review things, they know where everything's laid out on a job application. And they don't need to then, try to find things in different resumes because formats can be all over the place, where an application for a company will be the same for each applicant. The other thing, too, with a resume or a CV is it may not have everything on it that an employer really wants to know right away before they even consider somebody, consider even interviewing them, even for a screening interview. So don't put on your resume, like, what's your availability? Can you work Monday through Friday? Can you work evenings? Can you work weekends? Can you travel? Are you willing to relocate? That's something you would have in your resume or whatever. Those are things that might be on a job application where they'll ask you about, fill in the hours that you're available to work. Are you willing to relocate? Those types of things might be asked on a job application. Again, another way to screen you kind of out. So when in doubt, just say yes to stuff. Remember, job applications to help move you through the process. Later on, you can discuss when you get to the job offer stage or even the interview stage whether you want to relocate to wherever they might want to send you. Also, job applications can get into some things you might not want to talk about. You certainly wouldn't put on your resume, like, have you committed a crime? And there's lots of laws and things, and that varies again by jurisdiction on whether they can ask that on your application or not. In many states in the United States, they can certainly ask that. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? They can ask that. And they're not looking for necessarily like speeding tickets or things like that, unless you're in a position where you're driving, like you're a delivery driver or a truck driver or something where you drive a lot. They're not really looking for that. They're looking for, other more serious crimes, whether it's theft or some kind of assault or some type of crime like that. So, but not everybody can ask that on an application. So just be aware that they can ask that on an application. Or have you worked for the company before? That's a common thing they'll ask too. You wouldn't put that on your resume. And the reason they do that is they want to search your records. Were you working for the company and you were fired for cause? Or you might have a whole file on you, that talks about your job performance. So that's why they ask that type of question. So they ask additional questions on the application that you certainly wouldn't put in your resume. And the whole purpose of that is really to screen you out. They might get many applications, and so they want to eliminate people, that don't fit their criteria. If you're unavailable to work weekends and you want to, Saturday and Sunday, and you're applying for a job that needs that, and that's on your application, they don't even look at it. They'll screen it out to say, this person can't work Saturdays, so, move on, next. It's really that fast. And that's one of the problems with asking about criminal background, because people deserve a second chance. People, and certainly depending on the crime, it might not even really be that applicable to the company. So, and certainly a misdemeanor or a lower, like a parking ticket type thing, they're not going to really care about typically. But other things they certainly will, like theft. But the idea is that if you check that box, they're going to kind of screen you out. So, just be aware of this legal document that you're signing and why they're using it instead of a resume. And job applications themselves are mostly done online, as I mentioned. You go on, you fill in the blanks, and then you submit that application. And typically when you do that too, you're allowed to upload your supporting documents to that, like a resume, CV, that executive summary. Sometimes they won't necessarily name it that, but they might be under the category of additional documents that you want to provide. So that executive summary we talked about earlier in the course, that you definitely want to upload if you can upload additional documents. Maybe you want to upload samples of your work. All that kind of stuff you can upload there along with your job application. So certainly when you're applying for jobs, don't just do the application. It just takes a moment to click the button and upload your other supporting documents, because they'll screen through that application. They'll screen through your other documents too, and it's really that resume and stuff that really tells your story and sells yourself. So, when they get that point, you need that resume to kind of, sell yourself in there. So do make sure you upload all those other documents as well when you're submitting to these job applications. And it's very easy to do. So really job applications, necessarily evil and legal document, and really gets everything started and with your process with an individual company when you're applying. And the whole idea of an application, and like your other documents, is to move you on the path and get you an interview. So that is the key. They're not going to hire you right off your job application. They'll certainly screen you out based on your job application, but what they're looking to do is see who they want to set up for interviews. And that's the key from a job application, and your supporting documents is that next step, which is an interview.